Okay, what about bad things? What about things maybe that you didn't realize, or things that you're unhappy about from choosing to rent?
Well, with the renting, you really can't do what you want to do at the home because it's not yours.
Welcome to Real Stories in Real Estate with your host, Denise Laframboise. Real people sharing real stories about their adventures in real estate.
Hi there, I'm Denise Laframboise. So welcome to Real Stories in Real Estate, where we talk to real people about things they've actually done in real estate and share their personal experience with us. Today I have Samuel Springer with me, who's going to talk a bit about choosing to rent when you're a homeowner. So Samuel, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Denise. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So do you want to talk a little bit about, so what did you guys decide to do?
Well, we owned our condo. So we owned a condo, 2 levels. It was 5 bedrooms in Scarborough. It had upstairs, downstairs. Downstairs, we could have actually made another room if we wanted, but the idea was eventually was to rent it out because you were right by UFT and Centennial College. So we owned that condo for about 10 years. My lovely wife was homeschooling my boys. So at the time, didn't want anybody renting any of the rooms, which was fine. So the boys were homeschooled up to about grade 7. And because the condo
did it before it was cool, right?
Yeah, exactly. Before it was mandated.
I should have come to you for advice last year.
Yeah, the changeover was actually pretty easy for my guys. They really didn't mind it at all, and we were okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So with owning the condo, it was an older building. So we learned something about older buildings, and it being a condo, there were other things that were outside of our control. The maintenance fee got up to $1,200 a month. So that was kind of ridiculous because that was more than the mortgage. We got the mortgage down quite a bit. And to rent it out became a non-factor because as my wife continued with the homeschooling, I realized we were losing money instead of potentially investing and getting money. So the plan was to move. And ultimately, we would have liked to own a home. But at the time, my business was only around for about 1.5 years. So initially, the bank was like, yeah, it's okay. You can get pre-approved for this much. And when we started looking and sold the condo, then was told, well, you can't get approved for what they pre-approved us for. And even though we had a chunk of money, it was about $70,000 that we could have put down because we were investing some of it and we wanted to put some towards the house. That didn't matter. So we ended up having to rent by force. I should have looked at renting to own or leasing to own, but we just did a straight rental. So we rented for about 4 years out in Durham. And that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, so a lot to unpack there. So one, you do have more options than the bank when it comes to mortgages. And we have a lot of podcasts about, self-employed clients. Yes, you might not have the same options at the bank. I know I don't, because they look at how much I pay myself out of my corporation. Right. Or when you're a new business, sometimes they won't look at a new business the same way until it's a certain amount of years old or a certain amount of tax filings. But there are other lenders who understand self-employed and would be interested in lending. So that's step one. Step two, condo fees. So many people look at a condo and they're like, oh, I love this building. And you forget that when you're buying in a condo, you're also buying into like a management group. Yes. And sometimes that's managed really well. And sometimes they spend a lot of money or don't prepare ahead for renovations or get involved in lawsuits. Like sometimes there's a lot of things that go on that cause those condo fees to spike, or just that, like you said, an older building, and you get to a point where you have to do all of the windows in a condo building and all of the, or renovate the garage or renovate all of the balconies. Like that becomes very expensive. Correct. And sometimes there's not the money for it. So it's a lot of people, I think, okay, a condo's cheaper. And it definitely is in terms of there's not going to be a windstorm that's going to blow a roof off. You don't have to come up with $10,000 or $15,000 tomorrow when that happens. But those maintenance fees are not something you're typically in control of. Right? You can be one voice on the condo board, but sometimes it's not enough.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
So let's say in terms of renting, so you guys went from being homeowners to renting. What are good things about that?
The good things about renting is if there's any problems at the house, the owner, I just call them and they take care of the fixes. I don't have to worry about it. Now our landlord is pretty cool. They're very flexible. If there's anything I want to do, they allow me to, as long as it's within reason. So they let me treat it as if it's their home. I mean, my home. Of course, that keeps the value of their home well. But yeah, not having to put money out for any issues or anything like that. And I think that's probably the biggest thing, because when we were at the condo, we had a couple issues, like a couple leaks, but that was from things out of our control, like condos above our condo. So I didn't miss certain things like that, or fixing a roof, like little things like that. I really don't miss.
Right. Yeah. All of the joy of homeownership with no maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay. What about bad things? What about things maybe that you didn't realize, or things that you're unhappy about from choosing to rent?
Well, with the renting, you really can't do what you want to do at the home, because it's not yours. And at the end of the day, you can fix it up and do whatever you want, or almost whatever you want, but you don't own it. So I can't sell this house. It's not increasing in value for myself and my family. It's not something I can pass on. It's something that, whether they want us to leave or if we want to leave, there's no equity in it for us in that regard. So yeah.
Yeah, but it did allow you to take the money you got from the condo and invest.
Correct. Yes. So that was actually a bonus. The money from the condo was a great thing. We got to clean up a number of items and invest, which is great.
Awesome. So yeah, and in terms of, like, if you were in the same situation again, would you have chosen to do it all over again?
If I was to do it all over again, well, there's two things that I looked at. I probably wouldn't just rent. If it was to rent again, I would do rent or lease to own. And now that I've gotten to meet yourself and other real estate individuals who are very knowledgeable, I would talk with yourself first and see what lenders
What
would be
options are
available.
out there,
Yeah, what
right?
options are out there. And with the corporation now, it's about a year old. So we're no longer a sole proprietorship, but it's now a corporation. See what's available. Or I would look to buy instead of going to rent. So either rent to own or buy instead of just renting again.
Yeah, I mean, something we talk to a lot of people about is just, financial goals and emotional goals, and
Yes.
that they don't always do the same thing at the same time, right? So
Correct, yeah.
we sold a house that everybody told us we were nuts for ever selling, right? We sold this little rental property. It was a duplex. It was in Richmond Hill. We bought it for less than $300,000, which is insane when you think about that location.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, we had 3 kids. I was starting a business. We had another property at the time, and it was like, something has to give. Like, I can't get rid of these kids. I want to start a business, which is costly and stressful and whatever, but I can get rid of the tenants. And so that was something that we chose to do, even though it didn't make any financial sense at the time to anybody else. For our long range goals, it was the best thing for us.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when we sold the condo, so we have 4 boys, so you have 3 children, we have 4 children. At the time, so at the time, the space was great because we had 5 bedrooms. So we actually had a classroom, a playroom. When we moved, there was that difference of emotional, and we had one family member and she was livid, came to the house, basically yelled at me. She's one of my in-laws. She's my wife's side of the family. I'll make that distinction. But she's an avid investor in real estate, and she just went up one side of me and down the other. It was the worst mistake you've ever made. And she didn't care about the financial obligations or any of that stuff. She said, you should have stick to your goal. It's a rental property for a Centennial and UFT. It's prime location. And she didn't hear anything else. So yeah.
Yeah,
You
but
have to make sure your
emotionally,
goals-
like, yeah, how are you supposed to look after 4 kids and then manage a whole bunch of students in a rental, right? Like it's a lot of work. You have to have the bandwidth for that. And then on top of it, you were starting a new business.
The business. That's right.
Right? You can only do so much. And that's where I think sometimes what people look at, or what other people look at from outside, they think, oh my gosh, you're nuts. Why would you do that? Why would you refinance to pull money out of your house? Or why would you restructure your mortgage to be 30 years if you only want a mortgage for 10, right? But there's different reasons why we do things that people don't always see from the outside, that we definitely see from the inside, right? I mean, yes, investing in real estate is amazing, but if $1,000 a month is going to condo fees, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That could be going to anything else that's staying in your pocket.
That's
right.
That's right.
So,
definitely.
I just think people have a tendency to always be like, we always want to own homes. And I'm not saying we don't, right? We help people all day, every day, buy homes, buy cottages, buy rental properties, but it isn't always the answer for everyone all the time. And while, buying a rental property now might be great for me, at that time in my life where we were stressed and had little kids and starting a new business and changing careers and all this stuff, it just wasn't a good fit for us then. And there's nothing wrong with that.
True. That's right. There is a timing for everything. If one thing that I've learned in this whole process, there is a timing. You have to stay focused on your goals. Have some stretch goals as well, but you have to stay focused and not be torn with other people's opinions. Do your research, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid of the answers.
Yeah.
Accept what comes your way and work with what you can.
And the reality is life just goes up and down all the time, right?
That's right.
You're not going to look the same financially when you have a young family, starting a business, just starting out, whatever it is, compared to, what you look like when you're in a more stable situation, or when kids are cheaper or need less time, right? Or when kids are going to university, right? Like, things go up and down, and that's okay. And people don't always see that piece of it.
That's right.
So in terms of this, I really thank you for sharing this, because it is honestly something that people don't always talk about, and we do look at people's situations sometimes and say, why don't you just sell your house and rent for a bit? Like, mathematically, it makes sense. Or if you want to be in a certain location and houses are just too expensive, like maybe you're buying in a rental property really far away from your house and you're renting where you live. Right? There's lots of things we can do that might make sense if we're kind of willing to look at all the options, or potentially, like you said, put a plan in place for 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is. In terms of that too, do you want to share with people? So you also are a business owner. Do you want to tell us a little about your business?
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I am basically life insurance. I provide protection for business owners and families. So from a family perspective, because, we have 4 kids of our own, I like to help families with plans that will get them from where they are to a set point in time all the way through life. So there's different solutions that you can start off with, whether it's cheaper or more inexpensive, that's more budget friendly. From a business owner perspective, the position that I was in, basically you have a solution where it's almost like a self-funded bank. You can invest into this plan, and after a period of time, instead of going to say like a bank or a third-party lender, you can access cash value within your policy to fund any projects or things that you have. So we have creative ways of using insurance solutions to make sure that, the unexpected is taken care of, as well as your future.
Yeah, I love those kind of plans, right? Like the whole value, like cash value life plans, where it's like, you know what, we actually can still use this money, invest it in something, buy property with it, invest whatever you're going to do, and you're not losing that. It's still a life insurance policy.
That's right.
Pretty cool.
So your life is protected while your investment's growing. So
I love it. Well, thank you so much. If people have questions about maybe just what you decided to do, or maybe they're in the same boat and they just want to talk to somebody who understands how they're feeling, or if they have questions about your business or those types of life insurance policies, how did they find you?
I can give you my phone number as well as the email address.
Go for it.
And all right, so 416-882-5606. That's my cell, my direct cell. And the website is www.financialessentials.ca. Email address is samuel@financialessentials.ca.
Thanks. Well, I really appreciate you sharing with us today. This is the Real Stories in Real Estate podcast. You can find it wherever you consume your podcast. So Spotify, Audible, Google, wherever you want. You can also find them on our website at www.laframboisemortgage.ca. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us, Denise. Appreciate it.
Awesome.